This is the document. Okay, so we are going to map this scenario. For semi-finished production, we'll use one operation. For finished product, we'll use four operations. So according to that, we'll create a work center.
Mm.
Here, for semi-finished production, we'll create a work center called slitting, because the here we'll slit the coil between different dimensions. Then comes
Mm.
initial. We change name a little bit. We'll change his name as mill 1.
Mm.
Second will be mill 2. Third is will keep sizer. Fourth will keep as finishing. Okay, and for coating your final product, we'll also create one work center as coating machine. Now how this work center, I'll do one more thing here. I'm just mapping my work center here so that it will be easy to understand that and what flow it will work.
Mm.
This is mill 1. This is mill 2. This is sizer. This is finishing. So for producing a finished pipe, we'll do four operation, and all each operation will be performed on different machine or work center.
Mm.
Okay, so this is our flow. Now we'll see the different terminologies related with the work center. So in work center can be defined into these four categories. See, as I told you that work center will be linked with your routing to know the operations to be performed at your station where operation will be performed. Second, work center will have some capacity. So on basis of work center capacity, we'll plan our capacity planning. Third, on work center is also linked with the costing part, because any machine cannot operate itself. You need some in for one machine you may require two labor or one engineer or say operator. For another machine you require only one, but there must be somebody who can initiate the process. So, and
Mm.
the initiator cost is the cost incurred during your production. So if you want to capture total cost of production, so you need to capture the initiator cost, your operator cost, as well as some different costs. That's why work centers are related or linked with costing.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, we'll see the how to set up this general data. So in general data, the first one is define work center category. Here the meaning of category is that if you remember that in material master we create material group. Okay, so here the category, the meaning of category is exactly same. The terminologies change from middle group to work center category.
Mhm. So as you told, there is a three type of production like repetitive, discrete, and PPPI. Okay, so routing is a part of which
Routing is a part of
production?
discrete manufacturing.
Okay.
Right now we are only talking about the discrete manufacturing. See, the
Mm-hmm.
master, once we complete the discrete manufacturing, we'll move to the PPPI and then we'll move to the repetitive manufacturing. Because
Okay.
if you have a clarity about the discrete manufacturing, then what you are changing, we are just changing the uniform of process. That's all. Okay, rest
Mm-hmm.
all things are same. Okay, so
Okay.
here the categories are defined. The categories like the first category is machine group, labor group, plant maintenance. These are the category. I mean the broad identification. Second, if you can see that here
Mm-hmm.
the field selection is defined. See, field selection, suppose if you want that particular field should be visible or should be mandatory or should be hidden, so that kind of thing we can do from here. It is basically a field selection group is created, and that field selection group is assigned to work center category. It means that suppose here for in at the time of work center creation, if I entered as a say cost center is a mandatory field, okay, and I assign here to work center category double triple zero one. So whenever any user will create a work center for by using this category triple zero one, the cost center field will be considered as mandatory, while for other category material group or labor it will be optional.
Mm-hmm.
Here the field selection defined. See, in SAP, when we talk about the field, so we can say that the one is your input field. We can define field as an input field. Second, we can define field as a mandatory field. Third, we can define field as an optional field. So these all are views. These all are a
Mm-hmm.
view of your work center. See, these basic data, default value, capacity, scheduling, and costing, all these are different tabs. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
here in field selection, we can define that which field should be mandatory. If I click on basic data, see these many fields are coming under your basic data. Okay, now all these fields are maintained here as input field, means somebody will enter data. Second, if you want that back flushing should be required, it means that somebody has to enter anything, so I can make it as a required field. Third, display. If I want that field only should be only visible, nothing to be done, then I can make field as a display. Second, the hidden field. If you want to hide it, or the last one is highlight. If you want to highlight some field, highlighting is simply in SAP the highlighting meaning of highlighting. If any font is coming in blue color, so it is we call it highlighted field.
So this field selection group like is like from particular work center, right? So according to every work center, we can allow the field selection.
Hmm. Not work center category,
Okay. Category. Okay.
group of work center.
Group of work center. Okay.
Next come define task list uses. Now, the basic purpose of work center is that work center will be used in your task list. Task list, again, a different terminology for same application. Task list, routing, master recipe, and rate routing. All four are same, but terminology changes as per the application. Here, the task list. Why it is task list used here? Because this same work center can also be used in plant maintenance module. So in plant maintenance, if you want to do some kind of preventive maintenance, so you'll maintain some preventive steps like cleaning of machine, oiling of machine, greasing of machine. So it is called the task to be performed. It's a list which will have a task to be performed. It's called the task list. Okay, so here we define that for what uses this task list can be used. Here, if you can say that the task list uses 0001, defined as no task list category. It is a simple one. 001 is only routing and production. It means that this task list can only be used with uses 001. Then inspection plan. Again, here the QM comes in picture because task list is common for all. I give you another name. I told you routing, rate routing, master recipe, task list. One another thing is there, which is called inspection plans. The concept, everything is same, but name changes according to its application.
Mm.
Now, what is in this uses? Okay, suppose if I take example of all task list categories. All task list means everything is possible. If you create a work center with users 009, then that work center can be used anywhere. If I create a work center with 008, that master recipe, it means that this work center will be used for PPPI only. In a
Mm.
similar way, if I go with the 007, this work center will be used in for repetitive manufacturing only.
Mm.
Like 004, here it means only maintenance task list. Then this work center will be bound to the maintenance PPM plan.
Mm.
Now, what comes under this task list? Let's take example of master recipe or process order. Under the uses, we also define the different task list types. Okay, this is a simple uses. Okay, this is one normal key which we have created, but how to link this key with task list type?
Mm.
This is task list type 2. If you go and check it display, it says that master recipe. So in this way, task list types are assigned with uses. These all are different task list type. In a similar way, if we go and check some other, let's say, uh, on the inspection plan, here task list type Q should be with your inspection plan only, inspection plan. Okay, so in this way, it is control. Basically, this task list uses is a controlling factor, which we have seen, similar thing which we have seen for case of bomb. In bomb, we have seen the bomb
Mm.
uses. Now comes standard values. This is again a very important. This is again a very important field of work center. In standard value, suppose you say, as I told you that work center is used in during your costing run. So during costing run, if you want to capture the different type of standard values like your machine, your labor, your setup exercises. Okay, so that kind of standard values can be created here. And for creation of standard values, first of all, we need to define our parameters. So we'll go in a backward direction. We first will see standard value key. These are some standard value key. It is normal. It is open field. In SAP, if you can define anything as per your wish, it is called the open field. Okay, so here open field, this CMR2 is defined. What comes under this CMR2? These are a parameters. Okay, setup, duration, labor, and QC inspection. I'll tell you here in work center. This is my standard value key. All this key, all these keys are available here and F4. So if I use it, CMR2 here. So these many key datas I can capture. This key data you can either capture it by manually, or if you want to use them as a part of product costing, then we need to create a one activity type against each key data. So here the normal is like your normal production. In normal production, what we want, suppose you want to produce something, and you are yet to start your process. First of all, you need to do some kind of setup in your machines. Basically, this setup concept is used for your mechanical industries like your gear manufacturing, your camshaft manufacturing, where lathe machine or milling machines are used for production purpose. So first of all, suppose
Mm,
you want to produce a gear, and gear should have a say 10 teeth. Okay, and it should have
mm,
some fixed diameter. So for teeth
mm,
setting, that how many teeth will need to be cut on gear, first of all you need to do some kind of setup on your milling machine. Okay, and setup will also consume some time. Say your setup will take around 2 hours. So that 2 hour is a non-productive activity. But
mm,
that non-productive activity, during that non-productive activity, your labor or your some operate machine operator will work for setup, and you want that operator cost, 2 hour cost, should also be a part of my product costing. Because of that reason, this normal we create a one key as a setup. Okay, it is related with time. Third comes is machine. The second is second is machine. Again, we can, if you have a multiple machines, okay, and if you want to track down that on which machine it is linked, we for that
mm,
purpose we use keyword machine. Here we can
mm.
define the rule of maintenance.
Yes.
Setup, here
Mm,
it is no checking is given. This many rules we can assign here. May not be entered,
mm,
should not be entered, should be entered, must be entered. If I select the must be enter, in that case, at the time of your order confirmation or product costing, you have to enter some value in this. Okay, so this is standard value key. Now, how this standard value keys are created? The standard value key contains some parameters. Like if I open this, I will use this normal production SAP 001. So here in SAP 1, these parameters are assigned SAP underscore 01, 02, 03. We can define maximum 6 parameter for one standard value key.
mm,
And where these parameters are defined, here we can define the parameters. Now, what comes under the parameter? Parameter is a simple one key, but what comes under the parameter? Here, this is my parameter name, this is my origin, this is my text, the name of parameter. Second, keyword. This keyword will be displayed at work center here. Okay. Third, dimension. In which dimension you are going to measure? Because a machine, you can use a dimension, say the machine R as a for machine, while for labor you may use the dimension as a day. Okay, your one dimension is time, second dimension is length or anything. Okay, so for that reason here dimension is assigned. So once you create this parameter, then next comes is creation of value key. So first of all, we create a few parameter. Then after we assign parameters to standard value key, and that's how our value key is created. Next come your determine person responsible. It is again a simple key. If we want that, if we want to fix up the responsibility of any person related to work center, So we can create person responsible key here. These are some created link. It has nothing. Suppose this is our plant code. Here we can enter a person responsible.
Hmm.
Okay, so right now we have seen all the things which are necessary for static work center in nature. But your process is not static.
Hmm.
Your process is dynamic. Now what comes next?
Hmm.
Suppose you created some initial, you form some initial pipes, and after that, that pipe will move to next workstation, means next machine. This is again your moving time
Hmm.
is a non-productive time, but it is compulsory to for you to move one product from another machine in order to complete process. So we can also capture this move time. It is captured through
Hmm.
move time matrix. This is my move time matrix. Okay, how this move time matrix are defined? In move time matrix, we define the origin plant. Suppose if we are using a different machinery from across, if we are using multiple plant from for same product, so we'll define a origin plant. We define a target plant where for your product should reach, and we can also define different areas.
Hmm.
So here my plant is defined as 0005. In this location group is 001. This is my area. If we see the move time matrix for this plant, this is my move time matrix. Here 0005 is my origin plant, and under 0005 area 1, 0001 is my area, means this is area of origin, and this is area origin plant. Against that, we have established a relationship between target plant and target location, so that now what comes under the target plant. One second, answer. What comes? Suppose we have defined that our relationship between 0005 and 1000 plant, but this time is moving time, so we need to define how much time it will take. So under this we define further.
Hmm.
See the move time, standard move time. One second, just hold on.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
So as I was telling you about the move time. So if you want to move material
Hmm.
from one plant to another plant, definitely you will keep some standard time. Okay. So this is your standard time. It can be defined in terms of minutes or hours also. Then minimum move time. This is again a criteria defined. Now suppose if we want to fix up start time or finish time for particular movement, that can be done here. Okay, but it is not, I mean, suppose if we define here, then our process will be very very complex process, because each time system will go and check here the move time start and end. So what people generally do, they enter the standard move time here, and they don't enter any start and finish time. They'll move material as per their wish. How this move time or any this time helps us? Okay, at the time of capacity planning, suppose this is our total process. In this process, suppose my work center one, I have moved some material from work center mill one to mill two, and again mill two to sizer. If I move material from mill 2 to sizer, at that time my work center mill 2 will have no load. Fine. But my next consignment, my next material movement may be coming from mill 1. In that case, if I don't define move time, so at the time of capacity calculation, system will assume that your work center mill 2 is free, and it will assign some capacity to that. Now this subsystem is not relevant nowadays. Okay, now comes define default work center. If you want to create any default work center for your plant, suppose this default work center is used where this process is not divided into many steps. You have only one step, and you want that, okay, I'll use a single work center every time. Because the work center assignment in routing is compulsory, and you don't want to create multiple work center. To avoid that, many companies create a default work center. This is a default work center is against your plant. So we have seen the general data part. Now comes things which is related to the routing data, because routing is work center is a part of routing. Under the routing, the first thing is define control key. Control key is a key which control or which initiated the different processes. This is our one process step. This is operation 10, this is 20, 30, 40. So if you want that your process 10 should be initiated, then you need to do some kind of confirmation for your process number 10. And the confirm at the time of confirmation, control key control different business functions. The functions are scheduling, capacity planning, and time ticket and costing. I'll show you one control key. These all are my control key. We can create control key as per our requirement. See, if I talk about the control key, let's say this PP, this control key. So this control key has these many dimensions: PI01, detailed information. So this control key will control these many functions. It will use during scheduling, it will use during capacity requirement calculation, and it will also use during costing part. Now, if you want that this control key should be used as automatic goods receipt. where in this process where you'll get your final product. You'll get final product at operation number 40, that is finishing. So for last operation, we use control key, the control key which should have automatic goods received. In a similar way, inspection characteristic required, rework, print confirmation, all these are a print element. Now next is on basis of control key, system understand that whether this process need to be performed internally or externally. Like if we talk about the subcontracting part, in subcontracting what we do, suppose in this process you don't have this sizer, this is not available. Now what you are going to do, you'll produce your pipe on mill 1, melt, then mill 2, and after that for sizing operation you'll use some subcontracting vendor. Okay, so for subcontracting, how system will know that the third operation is subcontracting operation? This control key tells system that this operation is subcontracting. How this is here? We can define external processing.
Mm.
So here, if I click here, external processed operation, and whenever I confirm my operation number 20 mil 1, system will automatically create one purchase requisition for subcontracting. Next comes your confirmation. Confirmation is confirming the operations. Whenever we whenever we do actual production, we need to confirm each and every operation. This process contains 4 operations. So first we'll confirm the operation number 10, then only we'll be able to confirm operation number 20 and further 30 and 40. So here control key plays a role in confirmation also. Here we can define that what kind of confirmation we can do for this control key. Like first is your milestone confirmation. Milestone confirmation, the nature of milestone confirmation is that suppose you have a multiple operations in your routing, and you want that if you decided that third operation will be my milestone operation, or we can say that if third operation is confirmed or completed, it means I'll have a almost ready good. Okay, so we have decided the third operation as a milestone. So if for milestone confirmation, if I confirm third operation, then system automatically consider first operation and second operation as confirmed. Next comes confirmation required. Here we can control whether confirmation is required for your operation or not required. So if I click here, confirmation required, then only I'll be able to confirm the next operation. Here, confirmation not possible. Suppose during the process you have just entered one operation for monitoring purpose, or like in BOM we have seen that you can enter any component with text, the T format. Okay, it is similar kind of thing. If you want that operation should be a part of your routing, but you don't want to perform that operation, it is used where you have a multiple operation list for similar product. Suppose a pipe can be performed by X method, same pipe can be performed by Y method, or similarly for Z method. But the number of operation in X, Y, Z method are different. And if you want that, if you don't want to confirm or use any operation of method X, then this 3 is used. Then next is comes your operation possible but not necessary. It means that you're saying this operation is, you should confirm this operation, but it is not mandatory for you to confirm operation.
Hello,
Yes, Ajay.
hello, mate. Stuck the traffic actually.
I know, I know.
That's why I called it. Whether it is
Ganesh
slow.
conveyed me message that Ajay will join. little later.
This is a big problem for the traffic jam and other things.
Everywhere population is growing very fastly. Huh? Right now, Ajay, we started the work center part. In work center part, we
But
have work center.
okay,
Okay, in work center, these four categories are broadly we can define these four categories. First is general. The general data is just layout or just layout part on creation of some kind of work center grouping, or if you want to apply some kind of mandatory optional requirement on your field. So these all details are under the general data. Second comes routing data, which we are seeing right now. So in routing, the first is control key. Control key is a key which control your functions. The function scheduling, capacity planning, time ticket, costing, and confirmation.
रविंद्र बाबू बात करता हूँ मीटिंग में हूँ हाँ मीटिंग में हूँ कई बार
Next comes your setup. As I told you that whenever you start the production, first of all you will make our machines ready for production. So one second. क्या हुआ? हाँ? So in setup, again setup is a part of your activity list. So we can define setup for each and each plant. Suppose if you are dealing with multiple plant and you want that setup, suppose you have one pharma plant, you have one gear manufacturing plant, you have one steel manufacturing plant. So definitely you will use a different kind of setup for each machine. So because of that reason, we can define the relationship between the plant and setup. Whenever this keyword is used, setup type key, it means that this particular master is informative in nature. It won't capture or control any process. It is just informative. In a similar way, the next come is wage group. Wage group is again a grouping of different kind of wages. Suppose generally what happen, the labors can be classified in three categories. First is your skilled labor, second is semi-skilled labor, or third is your normal labor, or we may say that unskilled labor. Okay, so if you want to group different wages for this different kind of labor. So for that purpose, this wage group is used. Basically, the wage group is has direct link with HR module, because work center, whenever in work center your labor will work, and if your labor is working, then if any company wants to implement HR, so by using your production confirmation process, you can calculate cost of your labor, and according to that you can pay their salaries. Now next comes suitability. Here again nothing is defined. I think it is not suitable. So suitability is again a master which it is again a key by which we'll get information that this particular work center is suitable for which kind of process. It is an informative key.
that means we can categorize the work center according to this suitability.
Right. Next is define type of standard value determination. Now we have seen that standard value key. So here We establish relationship between plant and standard value key. We can define maximum 6 standard values. Standard values like here. For this work center, these are some standard values. Setup, machine and setup, machine and labor.
Excellent. Basic data, setup.
You can create your own standard value key as per your need, but generally these three things in any process globally, these three things will always be there. First setup, second machine, third is labor. We use this standard value key with activity type, and that activity type is finally used in costing part. See, this is my costing tab. Okay, so the role of work center is what? The role of work center is that work center will help us during the production order scheduling. It will help us during capacity calculation or capacity evaluation part. Third, it will help us in product costing. Now comes the most toughest and interesting thing, capacity planning. In capacity planning, see, if you assume that I do one more thing. I am just writing here capacity of individual work center. Say this mill one has capacity of 10 numbers, mill 2 has a capacity of again 10 numbers, while the sizer will have capacity of 15 numbers, and finishing we can say that finishing is a part of complete process, but finishing is a separate department. Okay, this is only suppose this is a flow for what do you call that pipe? Saw pipe. The saw pipe, meaning of saw pipe is submerged arc welded pipe. It is a kind of welding technology used for saw pipe. Next type of pipe comes is ERW pipe, which is again a pipe, but the difference between pipe is that in first case we'll use saw type of welding, in second case we'll use different type of welding. ERW means electric resistance welding. So what I written here, why I written here, this finishing area is common for all, whether saw pipe or ERW pipe. Because of that reason, we can say that finishing area will have capacity of 50 numbers. Now I'm opening the defined capacity categories. Again, this whenever this category or grouping word comes in picture, it means that it is a basically a logical grouping of different kind of the logical grouping of similar kind of resources. So here we can create this capacity category. This capacities category will further link with capacity calculation formulas. Now comes determine capacity planner. This is the one key by which, in a case of material planning, we fix up the responsibility on some person. In case of a work center, we have fixed up the responsibility on some person. But what about the capacity planning? I mean, the person responsible for capacity planning may be different. Because of that reason, we can create the capacity planner as a key here.
That means each work center will have the each capacity. individual capacity, and the capacity planner will be responsible for each work center productivity.
They see, we may define a different capacity planner for different work center, but if we talk about the production line where this kind of production where your production will be finished after the 40 operation, okay, for this kind of case we'll keep single capacity planner. Now comes available capacity. Here we define availability. It means we are defining here a basic master. So suppose a company is working 24 hours. So in that company, first of all, we need to define shift sequence. If you guys remember, at the time of plant creation, we have assigned one factory calendar.
Right.
So we have a calendar. We have now calendar. I mean, how many days will be my working days? Now, second drill down comes shift sequence. It is a grouping. Using this, you can create shift sequence and shift definition for spatial areas. Like here, one grouping is created as a step example. If we further check it, work break schedules. So here, what is defined here?
That means
Here the lunch time or tea time, breakfast time is defined. Because if I don't define it, system will consider that time as productive time, and it will give me the different capacity planning. Now comes shift definition. So here we define different shift like your A shift, night shift, B shift, C shift. Okay, so we define time start to end. See here the 8 for this one he start shift starts from 8 and 9 or 16 means 8 are as a total working. Here we can assign the break part here which we have seen in work break schedule. Now comes shift sequence. Okay, whenever we work in any organization may be working under some shift. So definitely your shift is going to change after say a week or 3 days or 4 days. So according to that we define here a shift sequence so that we'll have a clear identification about our capacity availability. We are saying capacity availability part. Next comes define period pattern. In period pattern, it is a simple key which always comes with the SAP. It's just in this key we just define the number of days in particular period, and further we can drill down in segment part.
Equals 1.
Okay, so this is my serial number of person. Here I can define that what number of person will work during this period split. So I have defined the 7.
Yes.
Duration, it is again in hours and period. Period is my shift key.
So this number of person is according to the shift, right? That you will shift how many person are going to work.
Mm-hmm. Your voice is very slow, Shivani.
This this number of persons are depend on the shift, right? So for each shift, how many person are going to work?
Yeah, come again. Actually, voice is not clear.
One second.
Hmm.
One second.
Okay.
What I'm asking that this shift is like this number of person is according to shift, right? So for each shift we are going to assign the number of person.
Correct.
Okay.
We can say that it is a capacity in terms of manpower per shift.
Okay. Okay.
Define version of available capacity. See, in SAP we use this version management in many areas. In your production areas, in your capacity areas, in your sales area, everywhere. So here we can create a different version for available capacity. When we define capacity, so at the time, if we define the capacity, here the three capacity versions are defined: normal, minimum, and maximum. So whenever system will calculate or plan our capacity, at that time system will throw us a report by saying that your normal capacity is this much, your minimum capacity is this much, and your maximum capacity is this much. It is again a informative key. Suppose you have how this report will come. Suppose for this 10 number, okay, but currently mill one has a load of two numbers. Whenever we calculate capacity of any machine, it will have a three kind of capacity. First is your normal capacity, which is considered as your normal working hour capacity. Second comes minimum capacity, and third is maximum capacity. So by assuming that, suppose maximum capacity is 15, minimum capacity is 8, and currently it is loaded with two numbers load. So when system will give us a capacity planning, so it will give a report in this format that your normal available capacity is 2 is already there, 8. In a similar way, minimum capacity is 6, maximum capacity is 13. Okay.
Uh, there is a difference between that the example you have shown in milli one, maximum is 15, normal is 8, and minimum is 2.
Hmm.
And you written the normal is 8 and minimum is 6. How the 6 come? Maximum is 13. So this is the maximum. Normal. Current. Okay.
Okay. So
Minimum
this is normal is
normal is 10.
okay
Okay.
because I have a two number as my current load.
Okay. Yes.
Now comes work center formulas. See, we said that we have a capacity of 10, normal 15, 8, but this is only Excel, that's why I returned. Okay, but if you want to calculate it, when we do some kind of capacity planning, on a big platform where suppose your hundreds of machines are working. So it is not easy to calculate by using these methods, by Excel based or manual method. Because of that reason, we can define certain formulas. So that formula will be part of work center. So first, for defining any formula, first of all we need to define formula parameter. A formula is a key which contains different parameter with some mathematical steps. So here we can define different formula parameters. Like suppose this is my one parameter, say machine. Okay. Now we'll see some standard SAP formulas. Here we can define formula for work center. Okay, so these are my parameters. Now how to define? This is my formula. So I'm taking here example of a normal labor formula. Have you understood anything?
Now you can multiply by say division by 8 and division by 11 and just convert labor time.
Okay, so we'll see this formula in real time calculation. What we'll do before capacity planning, we'll calculate our formulas in Excel, and after that we'll plan capacity and we'll check that whether system done the same thing. I mean, if it is the system done same thing or there is a difference. So in formulas, we define formula in a similar way. It has this step 01 as So the standard we create some capacity. Okay, that capacity is created as your current setup, which we call a current setup by using CR11. Okay, so this is my current capacity. This capacity is created and the same capacity is assigned in your capacity formulas. Now, what we define in this capacity? In this capacity, we define initially the name and all that. Your planner group. Now we define the factory calendar applicable for this capacity. Because if you are having multiple plant and the location of plant, suppose in India, you may find that Christmas is a holiday in Karnataka while it is not holiday in Gujarat. Okay, in a similar way, you may have a holiday pattern different for your interstates, or you have a one plant in Karnataka and Gujarat also. For that reason, we can define separate factory calendar for each plant. So we assign the factory calendar so that system will come to know that what I mean on system will come to know the real working days. Then we assign here active version. Here we define that whether this capacity is in active version or passive version, because suppose at the time of initial implementation, first of all you have list of all work center and you have all list of your current capacities. So first of all, what we do, we take data in our Excel sheet in SAP templates and we upload in mass. But you upload it in mass, but you don't want to keep few capacity as the active capacity. So we can control by using this. Now comes your base unit of major. Here, if it is your machine, suppose the base unit of major is again, if it is your machine and you want the capacity in per hour basis, so we can define capacity as hourly capacity. In a similar way, if you want to define capacity for your labor, so you can define capacity as capacity base unit as a number. Next comes your start of available capacity. Here we are defining the start and end time along with the length of break, so that system will come to know the available capacity. Here in config part, we have defined the different break and start and end time. But this is one scenario which is applicable for my plant. If you have a multiple machines, okay, and you want to control each and every machine, because of that reason, we need to create separate capacity start, end time, length of break for each machine. So here we define the start time, end time, and length of break. According to that, system automatically calculates its operating time. Now comes the capacity utilization. On what percent you'll use this capacity? So generally we keep as 100%. Now comes number of capacity. It means that number of machines available with you. So if I enter one, system will consider available capacity as operating time 1 hour. It means that I have only 1 hour. If I enter here up to, then system will consider capacity as 2 hour. 2 hour and few seconds. Okay, this is my operating time. This is my current capacity. So in this way, system come to know that what is your available capacity. This capacity is created and assigned in work center. Next, then come your planning detail. So this is a capacity creation here, it is defined into four categories. First is general data, second available, third is standard available capacity, and fourth is planning. So planning is relevant with your capacity planning. Here we assign that whether this capacity is relevant with your finite scheduling, whether it should be considered during your production or scheduling. Second, can be used by several operations. Means you have here we have taken example of only one flow, but suppose this mill to suppose this sizer is common for two process.
Two processes, you mean two operation, right?
No, I'm just telling you once again.
Okay.
Suppose in your plant these two processes are used. This is process number A, this process B. For that, because your sizer capacity is much higher as compared to your mill capacity, for that if you want to use your sizer as a common machine between two processes, okay, it means that your sizer can be used during several processes because of its capacity. Like this finishing, as I told you, that finishing is common for saw pipe as well as ERW pipe. Okay, it means that finishing is common capacity. Now, when I create the capacity, when I'm going to create capacity for finishing, I'll assign this can be used by several operation. Now, what is the reason behind this can be used by several operation? So when system will explore your capacity requirement, and when system will go and plan, system will also check that whether this capacity is a part of some other process or not. If I not tick this button, then system will only check one operation flow. If I tick this button, then system will check all the operations flow available in your plant. Now comes long-term planning. This long-term planning is again a separate chapter. Okay, uh, it is the meaning of this long-term planning is that whether this capacity will be the part of my long-term planning or not. Now here we define the overload. We can also define that how much overload we can allow here. Suppose I enter here overload 10%. The system will consider my total capacity 2.01 plus 10% overload allowed it. Okay, this overload, the portion of overload, we can say that is the difference between your normal capacity and your maximum capacity. Because in in any industry, nobody runs machine on maximum capacity always. Everybody prefers to run machines on normal capacity, but you have maximum capacity, you can increase rate of production up to the maximum capacity. So because of that reason, this overload is allowed it. Once again, I just make it. So now I created one capacity for a day. It means that my operating time is 24 hours. I have an operating time of 24 hours, but I have two machines, so my capacity will be 48 hours. Plus 10% means the 4.8 will be added to 48. ABC is a name of plant. Now got the distribution function. Suppose we have seen that a work center can be used during several production processes, but how to distribute the load of different, say, same work center among different processes. So here, this in this function, we simply define that how to distribute the load. So we can define, suppose you have a two processes and your current work center capacity says 10 numbers. So your system will consider, if you define equal distribution, system will assign 10 individual capacity for each operations or each production flows. In a similar way, if we assign the dispatcher start, it means that first, suppose you have a two production order, the first production will start on 20th, the second will start on 21st. And if I use this first function, that system will allocate total capacity available to first operation by considering that the first production start. Now we'll see the costing part. Okay, we'll do one thing now. We'll create one work center here. In work center, T code for CR01. I'm creating work center as mill 1. I'm taking capacity. Work center category means my broad category is machine. I'm saying that this is my machine. Now comes my description. Now I can define here person responsible. Now I can define the location where this particular mill is available. Then next come is QDR system. QDR system, if you want to do some kind of integration between non-SAP software to SAP for work center capacity purpose, for that purpose this QDR is used. Then supply area is again a common one. Then comes uses. As we've seen that we can, in case of a bill of material, we have seen the multiple uses of BOM. In a similar way, we can also assign the uses of particular work center. Like if we talk about this uses, these are the uses. No task list category. Only routing and production order. It means that this uses I can use for discrete manufacturing. If I select this uses production for production rate planning, it means that this work center will belong to my repetitive manufacturing. In a similar way, if I select the master recipe, it means that this work center will be used for PPPI, your process industries. Okay, so I'm keeping here for all work task list type.
Amit,
Hmm.
just that the QDR system,
Which one?
QDR, yeah, look after location, QDR, QDR or ODR,
Which one? I'm not getting you. What you're saying?
this one, ODR, after location, ODR system,
Yeah, ODR system, QDR.
QDR,
QDR. QDR, see, QDR, suppose if we want to do some kind of integration with non-SAP software,
non-SAP software.
then this QDR is used. Suppose like example, due to the high cost of SAP license, many companies are coming with the innovative solution. Like they'll buy only few licenses for their core people, and for rest other guys they'll pull data from SAP and they'll publish that data on web, on different websites. Suppose a company created a dedicated website for plant or performance or production related details. So what companies are doing? They're pulling data from SAP and then publishing data to web pages. So if you want to do these kind of integration between your web or SAP or any non SAP software, like if we talk about the non SAP software right now, many non SAP software like your BI, the business intelligence, the SAP business intelligence is but it is very costly software, but you'll find the different version of business intelligence which is very cheap. So if you want to interact with these kind of non-SAP software, so you can use this QDR system.
Can I give you indicate this one of my example?
Yes, yes.
The QDR system. Suppose in building, if we want to check the number of injection to in a day, how much injection has pumped by the system, that outside as a SAP software can be linked here
Yes,
to
yes.
check the number of injections.
Yes, yes, yes. The purpose, see, this is one application. I mean, we can use as per our need. Okay. Now comes back flushing. Back flushing, you'll find this question in each and every interview, and you may ask anybody what is back flushing. Back flushing is automatic goods issue. Suppose in this process, your raw material is steel coil which we have created. Right, this is your raw material. So whenever we'll confirm our operations in our live system, what we do, first of all, we'll confirm operation number 10. At the time of operation confirmation, we also consume steel coil. It means that I have used this material for conversion. This is my raw material. So if you want, that system should automatically post this steel coil at the time of confirmation. Then this back flushing indicator is used. If we want to use this black flushing indicator, then we need to post this material by using the standard transaction MB1A or something like that. Okay, now how system come to know the back flushing quantity? We have defined some quantity in our bill of material, and if you create one order, so when you confirm the order, system give you two things. First of all, system first line will be of goods receipt, your finished product receipt entry. Second line will be your consumption entry. Your steel coil will be your second line. And if you want that, whenever you confirm your order, system should automatically post steel coil as consumed material. Because of that reason, this back flushing is used. This back flushing indicator is available at three places. This back flushing indicator is available first in your work center, second in your material master, क्या था यार? Here in MRB2, back flushing. Okay, so back flushing indicator is available at two places. First is your three place. First is your work center, second in your material master. Again, it will come in your routing. So how system will come to know that which backflashing indicator is correct or which indicator should I use? So system first of all at the time of order confirmation, system first of all go and check backflashing indicator in routing. If system won't find any indicator, then it'll go to work center. If it is not found, then it will go to material master. In this pattern, system check this backflashing indicator.
That means backfetching is used for the finished goods only.
No. Backflashing is automatic goods issue.
See, that is applicable only for the finished good.
It is
This
applicable.
backfetching.
It is applicable on any operation where you want to consume any material.
At the material.
Suppose in this case you have four operation, and you decided that I'll consume my steel coils on operation number 10. Then backflashing will be applicable here. If you decided that you will consume your steel coil at operation number 3, हाँ हाँ हो गया, operation number 3, then this backflashing indicator will be used at operation number 3. Then comes standard value key. As I told you that it will have a certain keyword which we can say that how to maintain. Then comes few default values. See, all this default group, whatever we have seen our master, your control key, your standard text key, suitability, setup type, wedge group, you can define all these values here as a default values. But you can change all these operation default values at the time of routing creation. Suppose you created a one work center, that work center is a part in one operation. If I remove this, okay, and suppose just assume that this is a similar work center, mill 2. For this operation, mill 2 is not a final work center, but for operation number 2, mill 2 is my final work center, my last work center. So it may possible that for second operation, I'll use different set of the values like my wedge category, my different control key. While for this operation, I'll use the common one. Okay. So if you want to differentiate between default different operations with respect to your work center, we can correct all these default values in our routing itself. Then comes your capacity. Here the capacity is again distributed in capacity category. It is again a grouping. Now comes, see, the capacity can be divided into these many parts. Your pooled capacity, how much pooled capacity you have, your setup formulas, I mean the how much time you want for setup. Second, your processing, your tear down. I mean, we can also assume that the breakdown, any kind of breakdown which we may face, so we can assign here as a tear down. And if you want to define any other kind of formula, here we can define here. In a similar way, it is now next time a distribution. If you remember that we have seen the distribution should be equal. I have given an example of a capacity. I have a capacity of 20, total capacity of 20 numbers, and I have assigned the distribution as a equal distribution. Okay, so that particular key which we have created in config can assign here. Here again the same thing coming. We have created one capacity, but for this work center, we can also created a separate capacity. Now comes scheduling. In scheduling, system, suppose you created one production order, how would system know that how much time is needed for producing a certain product? For that purpose, system use a concept which is called scheduling. Scheduling may be of a forward scheduling, means you have defined your start time and you want system to automatically calculate your end time. It is called forward scheduling. Second comes your backward scheduling. In backward scheduling, we define our production end time, and system should propose us on what time I should start my production. The third category comes, which is called the current date. In current date, you are not going for any forward or backward scheduling. You just simply telling system, just tell me what should be the number of days according to my current system date. See, we have created one capacity. That capacity is assigned here. So that CR11 capacity used capacity will be used in scheduling, while for capacity planning or evaluation purpose we need to define here separate capacity. Now comes your last part, which is we call it costing. See, so work center will be a part of your routing, and costing can be divided into two ways: the fixed cost and variable cost. So your this work center operation, all this cost will comes under your fixed cost. Suppose you don't have orders, but you have to pay the labor cost or your machine running or electricity or office running expenses. So all these costs are fixed in nature. That's why it is called the fixed cost. So at the time of product costing, system calculates fixed cost by using your routing first, and second, on second drill down it comes and check on your work center level. So here we need to define a cost center for our work center. It means that here work center is your, we can say that is your logical master. But when we talk about the cost center is a cost collector which collects cost expenses or expenses of all kind and is store. Okay, this cost center will also used at the time of production order settlement. Okay, but this costing is yet not over, because here we have defined three keys: setup, machine, labor. It means that all these three, setup, machine and labor, is activity, and in product costing we call it activity based costing, because we are calculating cost for each and every activity. For that reason we need to create activity type. I'm just saving this work center here. Okay, so I'm creating one activity type here. I'm keeping the same name. Activity is maintenance. It will be valid from up to this. Now comes your activity unit. This activity is a part of controlling CO module. Now this, what is this activity unit? In what unit you are going to measure this activity? So let us say for MENT, will keep R as a unit of measure. Now also we need to define the different set of cost center categories again. I need to create one cost element for same. One more. Okay, so I created one activity for activity creation. Actually, it is not job of PPI, but I just tell you, activity is basically if you want to track your cost in terms of activity. So first of all, you need to create some one activity, and against each activity, you need to define one cost element as a secondary cost collector. So it is assigned there. Now we'll define price for this activity. So the price is defined in KP26. Here we define version, we define period, say we define for 1 year, fiscal year. Now we'll create, okay, we will have to create one cost center also. Wait, let's see if it is available.
Center may be available.
It is available, it is available.
Yes.
Okay, now activity is assigned. If we go and check here, the multiple is not supported in all periods. Yeah, I think we'll see this tomorrow because it is taking me to the FI part. A fiscal year version not defined. Okay, it has nothing to do with the PP part. As I'm telling here, this in this way we assign the activity relationship between activity and cost center, and here we define a one price for our activity. Suppose I define here a price is 20 rupees for activity maintenance, and that activity I'll assign here in my costing view. Okay, that activity will be assigned here so that at the time of product costing system come to know that okay, what is my planned cost, because your variable cost will come from bill of material. Your item, your raw material has some value, so it will give you the variable part, while the fixed cost will come from your routing or work center structure, right?
That means all the administrative costs, labor costs, maintenance costs, electricity costs will come through by the automatic cost with the fixed cost.
Right. All these costs which are fixed in nature, whether your machine is running or not, it comes through the work center activity type. And all costs which are directly related with your production, because I mean, as per your production, suppose you generated some scrap, so you'll use more raw materials. It means that your cost is varying. So it comes from bill of material. Okay, so tomorrow we'll do one thing. Tomorrow we'll move in similar way. We have created master. We have created
Okay.
one work center. We have created one bill of material. Tomorrow I'll try to resolve these issues. I mean this FI part issue, and tomorrow we'll see routing. Okay.
Okay.
So after creating all these masters, we'll have a all set of masters ready. Then we'll go to the production order setup, how to create the production order, what are the different kind of settings are required. We'll move in this way.
Okay,
Okay.
Amit, can we have a one problem problem session regarding that the what we have done till date?
But you have done something,
Or
Ajay, huh? You have tried your hand anything, huh? That what I'm looking. So we'll do one thing, na, on one day. I mean, on a Friday or some other day, we'll keep one session for that.
Session Friday. Okay. By Friday or by Saturday?
As per
No,
your
no,
wish,
Friday.
No,
Shivani,
no,
I
no,
mean,
Friday.
where are you going on Saturday, huh? You just got shocked and said, no, 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 on Friday.
No. Saturday, Sunday, I have some other, assignments. I'll be busy in the morning actually. So first half, I'm not available. That's nothing else.
Okay, okay. So, I mean, you guys can decide. I mean, you can plan for Friday, not on Sunday,
Mm,
on Friday or Saturday, anytime. Okay.
mm. Yeah, no problem.
Fine, chalo, okay.
Okay, so please, yeah, okay, bye. Please send the recording, Amit.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, thank you.